Thinking about my favorite scenes in The Outsiders, there are many scenes that came to be something I was pleased with, others less so. But in a way, my favorite scene was perhaps the most difficult one, and difficult to choose how to do it, which was the big rumble scene, which I was trying to understand how I could do that without actually having them just punching each other. And yet I knew that perhaps as the climactic resolution of this animosity and the strangeness of this animosity, in that even the oldest boys who fight on each side are buddies that are friends, and yet they have to lead their boys. And I think the fact that I made it harder on myself was a good choice, because I added the rain. In other words, I was terrified of how am I going to have them really fight and show them punching each other, and to do that well involves a lot of skill and danger, because it's in a big, that many people fighting in a rumble. Someone's bound to really land a punch on someone and break a jaw or lose a tooth, and I was terrified of that because I really cared for all of those boys. The boys who did it and had to be athletically proficient to be able to look like they were fighting so man to man, as it were, boy to boy, landing punches, and they had to do it in a way that looked really brutal and yet wasn't hurting anybody. So I have to only, I can't take credit for, I tried to stage it in a way that would have the maximum impact. And of course I used the rain as an element. On one hand, it made the scene look more dangerous and more out of control because they were slipping and falling in the mud. But in a way, that weather also gave a distraction to look at it, perhaps literally how many punches were really landing on, or looked as if, because you always, as you know, try to trick the fact that, you know, the punch is thrown and the other person throws their head, but there was never a contact because it would be too harmful. And I have to give credit to the stunt people who worked with them, which probably was Buddy Joe Hooker and folks who are experts at how to make something look ferocious. And even some of the boys in that group, I think the other fellow who was Darry's friend from Associates, I think actually was a stunt guy. And very often you mix in with the boys young stunt players who know how to give the illusion of hitting someone without hurting them. When you shoot a scene like that, you need many what are called setups, which are shots, and every shot takes time to do. So it made the sequence doubly and even triply more difficult and more dangerous in a way. So the fact that we actually did it and that those boys performed so beautifully in it is something I'm proud of, and I'm proud for them.
Now I'd like to say a few words about the Rumble tonight. What's going on?
We started out under on the track at the first punch, and then you had all the rain. These poor kids, it was so cold. When we would turn off the rain machines, you could just see the steam coming off of Tom and Patrick and all those kids. The beams that came down. One was black that actually hit Ralph. The other one was a beam that had flames on it.
We haven't changed a day.
Yes, aren't we just as young as we are? Don't.
Francis explained it.
This is what I always wanted. No pressure, no money. Well, it only was made possible because I got lucky with the resorts and the wine company. Otherwise, I'd be doing
What's going on with the resorts?
They're very successful.
Yeah.
I'd be doing movies of the week, you know, for...
Like me. Don't say it like that.
I treated him like I treated everybody else, with, you know, at the time was a bit
sort of cocky and sassy. And someone's got to do them, and it can't all be Francis Ford Coppola.
We can all have a vineyard.
I wasn't intimidated by his work because I didn't know of his work. And I know he liked that a lot. Wow, this was your car.
What happened to it? It hasn't been maintained. What did they do? It's been attacked. Look at this car. I mean, what 17-year-old Brad is allowed to drive this car? I have been maintained better than this car.
There's no doubt about that.
We did that every Friday when we shot.
Drinking great wine, getting to resurrect old friendships, eating strawberries.
Somebody told a crew member looked at foods for the talent. And then,
He was Ron
and then
Colby at
Leif
the time.
went over to the table, and Ralph said, "Hey, Leif, that's for the talent." And that's when they
I remember
snapped
this.
the photo. That's what the poster is.
Oh my Lord, I remember.
all
He said,
laughing.
leave that food, it's for the talent.
Matt's my favorite in the movie. I love what he's just so out there.
He went for it, didn't he?
I get you a hangout, a hideout, a hangout.
That was
Igloo.
reaching for
I
the
find
next
you a
line.
teepee, a tent,
tent.
a fort. I got you a fort.
Hey, everybody.
I'm not sitting in that chair.
wow.
The Soches.
At least you got the front seat.
Forever greaser.
So
What's that thing on Ponyboy's neck? It's the question I always got when they cut out
Oh,
the
because-
well, now they're gonna know.
Now they're gonna know, they're gonna see
So-
Kid, everything's new. Dawn.
Ralph,
The
you
way you
killed
do
that.
something.
Oh,
Good scene.
Killed that. That was just unbelievable, man.
It was a nostalgic ride, you know.
Okay, we're all gonna have to jump you after this.
I remember moments that I shared with Diane Lane after seeing the movie that I never really remembered before. She would recall things that I'd said to her, and of course I would deny them because, you know, at 14 I had the biggest crush you could have on a young girl, and I never wanted her to know that, but I'm sure she did.
The night we shot here was freezing cold, and when Tommy says, "Man, I'm freezing," he really meant it.
I said you're a clown.
Shut up. Every once in a while, it still plays at this theater. Actually, the actors, Rob and Tommy, were very close during the movie shoot, too. That was a rough night shoot because Matt had the little gunshot squibs taped to his bare skin since he left the hospital with just a jacket on. And when those squibs went off, it hurt. I think Matt did a great job as Dallas.
We went out on the streets of Tulsa and go to, a drugstore, and we'd shoplift, and we'd do all this stuff, and we'd get in trouble. And Francis was there the whole time filming it.
Fuzz won't be looking for you here.
Videotape was a very new thing. He had
which was, not in a great part of the neighborhood, and I don't remember it having heat. He wanted us to cook a meal together, and I don't cook. Tommy Howell doesn't cook, and Swayze doesn't cook, so that was a disaster. And he and Susie Hinton sat on that couch, and we were in character for hours and hours and hours on end, and finally we were sort of looking at each other, the actors going, is this ever going to end?
Francis was eager for me to spend the night in jail, which I wasn't, of course, so interested in doing. But maybe Dallas, because he's been in the reformatory. You should go spend the night in jail. I was like, okay, Francis, why don't you go spend the night in jail?
I spent time in character, sleeping out at night in the cold, wrapped in newspaper.
and walking on a piece of blue tarp that would then turn into a park or wherever we were. The best part that came out of that was the fact that we were able to draw upon personal experiences with each other as actors, and then when we would refer to moments on film, we could recall that experience for real.
I believe you should work very sensually with actors. Actors like it in the early stages of rehearsal. Usually I have a whole table full of props because they just want to go up and get some. Then when you see it, if you like it, you encourage it.
Oh, the fire is on!
In the rehearsal process, we're ready to put on the show.
There would be scheduled sort of gaming and competition between the Soches and the Greasers. Every weekend we would have these rival matches, be it football, soccer, basketball.
There was a lot of competition. We wouldn't dare.
And I remember one afternoon we were going to play a flag football match. The doorbell rang and somebody was standing there with some brand new sweats, drawstring gray sweats with canvas Converse and a t-shirt that said Greasers on it. And they handed me a really lovely plastic binder for my script. And it had The Outsiders and my name on it. So we all scramble off to the park and we go up and we've got our gray sweats and our t-shirts on and we look over and here come the gang of Socias, all in their beautifully colored button-down snap sweat jumpsuits and their leather high-top sneakers and their leather-bound script covers with their names on them. And I remember that just eating at us, and we kicked the holy hell out of them that day.
Yeah, how? All right!
Me being a social, him being a greaser, can relate to this very much so because the greasers got less per diem than the socias and got better. The socias got better hotel rooms.
That's hardly the case.
Yeah, right. Okay. But it was exactly like that, and he's a young boy and he's still learning. It was good. It was healthy. It was very healthy to exercise that ability.
Me and Leif Garrett are good friends today.
Really? I love this kid.
No. Speed.
There were times when it got almost a little over the top, like it was like, hey, whoa, you know, you guys really are actors. You don't hate each other.
We spent like 3 nights shooting that scene, and I got deathly ill. So it wasn't the actual dunking that was rough. It was building up to it. I mean, there was some grabbing and a bit of a fight going on and struggling, and Francis didn't want it to look easy. He wanted us to look like we were getting away, and I didn't make it easy on Leif. You know, I mean, I tried very hard, and Francis came up to me and said, do not let him put you in that water, period. My struggling consisted of a few blows to Leif here and there, but they got me in, and in the long run, you know, they dunked me pretty good, and Leif got even with me.
Pony boy, I asked the nurse to give you this book so you could finish it. It's worth saving those little kids. Their lives are worth more than mine. They have more to live for. Tell Dally I think it's worth it. I'm gonna miss you guys. I've been thinking about it in that poem, that guy that wrote it. He meant you're gold when you're a kid, like green. When you're a kid, everything's new. Dawn. Like the way you dig sunsets, Pony, that's gold. Keep it that way. It's a good way to be. I want you to ask Dally to look at one. I don't think he's ever seen a sunset. There's still lots of good in the world. Tell Dally I don't think he knows. Your buddy, Johnny.
When I stepped out into the bright sunlight,
upon the moment long ago, one breath away and there you will be, so young and carefree. Again you will see that place in time, so gold, still away into that way back when you thought that all would last forever, but like the weather, nothing can ever and be in time, stay gold. But can it be when we can see so vividly a memory, and Yes, you say so must a day to fade away and leave a ray of sun. So go. Yet filled with sorrow and compassion, though not imagined, all things that happen will age to old, though gold, 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 gold.
Stay gold, pony boy. Stay gold.
Nothing gold can stay. Nature's first screen is gold. Her hardest hue to hold. Her early leaves a flower, but only so an hour. Then leaf subsides to leaf. So Eden sank to grief. So dawn goes down today. Nothing gold can stay.